We're talking with Eric Crouch, former Nebraska quarterback, Heisman Trophy winner. Eric, I was curious, I know the recruiting world has gotten way different from when you were being recruited out of Millard North, but you were a parade All-American. You were highly touted as well. I know it's the internet recruiting site age has made things really different, but as you look at a guy, let's just throw out an example like a Dylan Raiola, anybody that's a really highly recruited guy. What are some of the challenges that you think present being a highly touted quarterback as you come onto campus at a place like Nebraska?
Oh man, tough now. You'd be crazy not to think that money's one of the driving forces.
Mm-hmm.
With NIL now, it's changed how recruits. It's changed the portal. It's changed why players stay and go. It's actually kind of sad in a way because I've always enjoyed the purity of the sport, but I understand there's a lot of money involved now, and it's just that's where we're at with this sport. And I hope that it can get fixed or not get worse somehow. But recruiting's different, and as you see, teams that are winning football games and championships are they have a top level quarterback, and that's probably never going to go away.
Now, Eric, on the other end of this whole thing, in terms of the transfer portal, we know Coach Rule preaches the importance of a tight-knit group, one where everybody's on the same page. But even still, it's hard to keep guys bought in when either A, the team isn't bowling, and B, playing time might not have been there. Even though the standard is set up for the guys to want to stay, has the lack of outgoing transfers surprised you at all?
No, guys make decisions. It happens every year. There's a light on it now, a bright light. Whether guys are staying or going, or they just want to play, so they're not getting the opportunity. It's still a movement. I think it's more a movement because there's really no penalty. There used to be a year off. You'd have to really think about this. Am I going to go somewhere and have to sit out a year? It's all about what's best for me now, which is unfortunate. I think that when a coach can create that chemistry with a program where it's not about anybody, it's about the team, I think that's when you really have greatness. And it's really tough to judge. It's really tough to find. It's hard to create. But as you see, when you're able to put everybody together on the same page, and get it done, we'll watch that throughout the playoffs and see who comes out on top. It'll be interesting.
Eric, we'll get you out of here on this as we've covered a bunch of different topics this morning, but I guess just how strange is it going to be, going to a Millard North football game next year and not seeing Fred Petito on the sideline? Have you really thought about what that's going to feel like yet?
I embrace it. With Coach, he's been there a long time. He's done tremendous things. That program has been a program that had a lot of success, and not only the success, but the players supporting Coach Petito has been real high, and that's because people respect him. The players do. He lives and breathes football. I can't imagine that he'd be done the way this guy operates, but they got a good coach. I think Alan's going to do an amazing job at Millard North. He's been up there before. He's got history with the program, and I'm excited for the future as well.
That's Eric Crouch, former Husker quarterback, Heisman Trophy winner as well. Eric, we appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll catch up again soon.
Hey, thanks for reaching out, guys. Have a good day.
Thanks, Eric.
That is Eric Crouch, former Husker, former Millard North quarterback, and Heisman Trophy winner.
You are right.
I just got to remind people, where people are coming from. He was joining us on the Warhorse Sportsbook hotline. Warhorse Sportsbook is the best place in Nebraska to place your sports bets. You can go to the casino in Lincoln or to Horseman's Park in Omaha. That's 6303 Q Street. You can place your bets on nearly every major sporting event. You've got straight bets, parlays, props, live in-game bets, all accepted. Visit warhorsecasino.com/sportsbook or get the Warhorse Casino app for details and a full list of house rules.
I still have $50 left in my Follow the 100,
Yeah?
Robbie.
Okay.
What team in the college football playoff is so who's winning it all, and where should the $50 go?
Are you just you're just going like on futures odds right here, or you want to go game by game?
I feel like we read something called No Bets, No Glory a lot.
Warhorse Sportsbook, no bets, no glory.
So if I don't make this big bet, I may not have big glory.
So, I mean, what you're going to get the best odds are if you pick a underdog.
Right. If I pick like a Washington to win.
See, and I think Washington can win.
I think they can too.
I think they beat Texas because that's going to be a shootout. That's going to be kind of like an old school Big 12 shootout, I think. And I think Washington's better at that than Texas is.
And then you have Michigan, Bama, which is in my mind a toss-up.
Yeah, coin flip. I think they are pretty similar in terms of both physicality, how they play. I think that's a toss-up. And then we've already seen Washington beat an Oregon team that's as physical as those two other teams.
People looked at that Oregon team as the best team in college football when they were playing in the Pac-12 championship game.
I mean, they were double-digit favorites over this Washington team, which was bonkers, by the way.
Yeah, but remember, I said it feels like a trap.
Yes, and I was like, I'll take the trap. I want Washington. Give me the points. Like that. We had that exact conversation. I was like, give me Washington. Washington's better. I don't care what they say. And so Washington has shown that they can not only put up a ton of points, but they can match physicality with these teams that are like the Michigans, are like the Alabamas of the world. So I think you get plus money on Washington at this point to win it all. That might be where that $50 needs to go.
Man, and I almost threw this money, and I'm happy I didn't, on Michael Penix to win the Heisman.
Yeah, I didn't think
the odds were so juicy,
and I didn't think he was going
Daniel's odds were just such a heavy favorite that I couldn't get behind taking an underdog right before the ceremony. But in terms of what we just spoke with Crouch about, it did surprise me that that Michael Penix didn't get more of a run.
Yeah.
Because he had Heisman moments to his name.
Yeah.
That Daniels did not have.
That was the frustrating thing for me, is I thought it was pretty clear that Washington defined this football season more than LSU did. And that's what I talked about yesterday with what I wish the award would be about. And this isn't to take anything away from Jayden Daniels. He had an incredible year, right? But you're not going to go back and think of 2023 in college football and be like, oh, yeah, Jayden Daniels, right? No, you're going to think of one of a few things, right? Number one, if Texas pulls this off and wins a national championship, you're going to think Texas is back, right? You're going to the reemergence of Texas football. That'll be first and foremost. If Washington goes on to win, and maybe even if they don't, you're going to think of it as Washington, Michael Penix, Kalen DeBoer, right? That's one of the very top storylines of the year.
If Michigan wins, you're going to think, the cheaters got it.
You're going to think it. You're not going to think of, J.J. McCarthy or Jim Harbaugh. You're going to think, Connor Stallions.
You remember that
cheaters.
Scandal?
You're going to think it's going to be, honestly, it's going to be the, what was it, Spygate, the Patriots deal. That's how you're going to look at it. The way people look at the Patriots' undefeated regular season,
they have an asterisk next to it.
They view it as, the Spygate.
And then you have Bama, who is going to be looked at as, Florida State should have been in, not Bama.
Yeah, right? Like, Alabama defines the other thing that happened, which was Florida State getting left out of the playoff. And so you're not going to look at, obviously, none of those other teams really had a Heisman contender. J.J. McCarthy wasn't really in that neighborhood. Quinn Ewers was injured, wasn't really in that neighborhood. Jalen Milroe got off to a really tough start, wasn't really in that neighborhood, got benched at one point. The only guy of that group that has defined this season is Michael Penix. When I go and think back about this season, I will not think twice about Jayden Daniels. And that's, again, not trying to hate on the kid. He had an incredible year.
And his stats backed it up.
But he is not what this college football season is about. And to me, that's what the Heisman should be. The Heisman should be representative of, hey, this is what defined the college football season. Eric Crouch is a good example of that. Other guys had better numbers than Eric Crouch. Eric Crouch had
like 10 interceptions to 7 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think it was 7. Yeah, it was a reverse ratio, but the rushing numbers were incredible.
Yeah, because he had like 18 tutties on 1,000 yards or whatever.
Yeah, and he had this incredible Heisman moment. The play that I believe was the play that Shane played, the Missouri play, where he goes like 98 yards to the house on this incredible run. He had this Heisman moment.
Is that a long way?
It's a pretty long way. It's almost as far as you can go. And he had these Heisman moments. He's leading this powerhouse Nebraska team that, people thought maybe was on the way, kind of dipping down after Osborne left. He was one of the people that defined that season. And if anybody from Miami had won it, that probably would have made sense too. But those were the two teams that defined the season. And same thing, we mentioned Johnny Manziel yesterday. Johnny Manziel defined that college football season.
RG3 defined
so
the college football season the year he won.
Yes. So when you've got multiple losses, like an RG3 did, like a Johnny Manziel did, like a Tim Tebow did, you have to be the thing that people remember from that college football season. And Jaden Daniels just isn't going to be that. Like, as much as I watch college football, I forgot about LSU half the time when they weren't playing somebody big because they weren't must-see TV. They weren't really in the title hunt. They were an afterthought for me. And I get that I don't live in the South. I don't live in SEC country. But if you're looking at college football from a national perspective, LSU wasn't important this year. They just weren't.
So what you're telling me is when the grass is greener on the other side, and when a guy by the name of Kyle McCord comes to Nebraska, you're sliding him down as the Heisman because he's going to define next year's college football season.
Let's pump the brakes here.
Oh, we can't get that far ahead?
I think in 2025, when Dylan Raiola takes over, he will win the Heisman.
Nice. All right.
Kyle McCord will probably just win like the Davey O'Brien or something minor like that. Not a big deal. Kyle
McCord will just win a national title, but Dylan Raiola is winning the Heisman.
He'll just win a natty and like a Davey O'Brien, maybe a Maxwell, nothing big. But
I believe Maxwell's a coffee.
Oh, I think it's also an award.
It's Maxwell House. Oh,
yeah, so close, like Nestle Toll House.
Yep,
right in the neighborhood.
Just like Kyle McCord's going to take it to the house, right? Because he likes to use his legs a lot.
Wait a second.
Wait,
no, he's going to
Am
throw
I thinking
it
of the right guy?
to Julian Fleming.
Oh,
who's going to take it to the house.
Got it.
If you are just joining us, and Travis chimes in on as we wrap up the Heisman talk. Travis says, I didn't really think there was a bad choice among the finalists, but I had Daniels. I thought Daniels was the better one. He had probably the best. I mean, he had the best numbers, right?
Yep.
I just, like
it's
I said,
a stat stuffer.
As I think back about the season, LSU is not anywhere near the top of that list. They just
and to some degree, I wonder because yes, he was among the best group of the finalists. I wonder if Michael Penix, Marvin Harrison, and Bo Nix, because of what had kind of like transpired throughout the season, like Michael Penix was the obvious number 2 in that group, but is that group strong enough to overtake the numbers Daniels put up? That's what I had to rest with at the end of the day, because I don't know if that group showed enough to say that they had the better numbers to be considered the top overall player in college football.
Yeah, so I mean the Penix numbers are pretty ridiculous.
They're great.
They're up there.
They are really good.
He doesn't have the rushing that Daniels did. What I think was the bigger factor here was I do think there is in this, and I know some people overplay this, but we saw it with the college football playoff. I think we saw it with the Heisman voting. There is a lean towards the SEC in that situation where
there's a lean toward the SEC in every situation.
Right. Yeah. As well, college football, at least for sure. And probably college baseball too. But I think people looked at the numbers he put up in the SEC and thought, well, if he's able to do that in the SEC, whereas I could make an argument that the Pac-12 was just as good as the SEC this year, especially top to bottom. Maybe top end, you didn't have although how much different is Georgia and Alabama from Oregon and Washington this year? I think they're about the same.
They're pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, they're in the neighborhood, right? I mean, Georgia, Oregon, both right outside the top, the college football playoff. Alabama and Washington, obviously in the college football playoff. I think top to bottom, the Pac-12 was a better league this year. But unfortunately, with so many Heisman voters, this is kind of my one bugaboo about the way they vote for it. There are so many Heisman voters that not everybody's going to be as plugged in as you need them to be to get it right every year.
With all those Heisman voters, if they added more Heisman voters to the mix, would you want to be one of them?
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. So that's kind of what it's turned into is, let me have the pride of being a Heisman voter.
There's a ton of Heisman voters out there. And a lot of them, so here's the other problem with it is a lot of them cover college football regionally. They cover it for a specific team or a specific paper or a specific region. And so they may watch other things, but it doesn't necessarily benefit their day job, quote unquote, to watch Pac-12 football if they're an SEC writer, or to watch, Washington football if they're a Florida State writer or whatever, right? And so I think there is kind of an inherent skew in some of the Heisman voting because of the nature of who the voters are. And again, that's not anything wrong with any of those voters. If you see Jayden Daniels on a weekly basis, you're going to look at him and go, oh, wow, this guy's incredible. And he is. But you may not have the same motivation to go out and watch a Michael Penix or a Bo Nix or a Marvin Harrison or whoever on a week-to-week basis.
Is there a potential that we revisit this after the first of the year? And I know it's a regular season award, the Heisman is, but if Penix went out and just in 2 games just went out and just had stellar numbers, and you looked at it, and are we in January 10th going?
Yeah, it'll be talked about. Yeah. It'll be talked about for sure. And I don't think it's wrong to revisit it either, because you look at what happened last season, and some could make the argument that Duggan, what he was able to do at TCU, really defined the college football season, and his numbers were great. And because of what he did when he got to the college football playoff and upsetting Michigan, that he should have been more looked at as the Heisman Trophy winner that year. But you're right, Jane. It's a regular season thing, and it's not taking anything away of what Jayden Daniels has done.
No,
because he's done incredible things this year and he's put up incredible numbers. It's just more I can't rightfully say definitively that Jayden Daniels is the Heisman Trophy winner in my mind, because he didn't have a moment this year that elevated his football team outside of elevating himself.
Well, and here's the question I think you have to ask yourself about Jayden Daniels versus Michael Penix. Could you tell the story of this college football season without Jayden Daniels? Yes, I think you could. Could you tell it without Michael Penix? Absolutely not. That to me is that in a nutshell is what I want the Heisman to be. What player can you not tell the story of this college football season without? And to me, that was Michael Penix the whole year. Coming up next, we will reset the whole Dylan Raiola, Kyle McCord, Nebraska situation, and some other good news that came out of Nebraska football yesterday as well. Here on